Welcome to the Women Leaders Association podcast, where we believe we go further, faster, and have more fun when we go together. Be sure to tune in each week to hear an empowering message from the world's top women executives, trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and all-around fierce female leaders. I'm your host, Julianne Kirkland, and I will be taking you on a deep dive of each message to equip you with the principles, strategies, and tools you need to start crushing your goals, increasing your impact, creating work-life harmony, and did I mention have more fun? Because when you love what you do it better. The Women Leaders Association is the world's largest women executives association with over 30,000 women in executive and leadership positions who are committed to the development and advancement of women in the corporate arena. If you would like to get involved in a Women Leaders Association chapter, would enjoy daily podcasts, or you desire to become a part of the Women's Mastermind group near you, simply go to womenleaderspodcast.com. Now let's tune in for this incredible message.
On today's episode, hear from Julie Hamilton, a certified fibromyalgia coach and best-selling author. Julie makes sure that both employee and employers have the tools and knowledge behind what is really happening with employees with chronic illness. Listen in. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome, Julie.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, okay, you have been dealing with chronic illness. You have a book called Chronic Illness at Work, and you're a really big advocate for helping employers understand how they can help their employees who are going through some kind of chronic illness. So talk a little bit about how this journey started for you and how you've become an advocate in this way.
Okay. Well, I was diagnosed in 2009, I think it was. At the time, I was an HR director of 2 nursing facilities and assisted living, and I didn't know anything about it. I'd never heard of it, didn't know anything about it, that kind of thing. And so I kind of started my research or journey, I guess, on that. So I worked in a medical facility, obviously, a lot of nurses and stuff, and they didn't know about fibromyalgia. Wow. So that's kind of where it started, is teaching others about it, like what to look for on my bad days, what I'm like on my bad days. Even though I'm having a good day, I'm still struggling and trying to get better that way. And then I decided to relocate to Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's when my fibro and my health and everything really tanked. I was kind of like in a flare for 4 years. I was so sick I couldn't get out of bed. I was in bed probably 95% of my life. And I looked at my husband finally and I said, I can't live like this. I either don't want to be living or we're going to have to make a change. So we decided we were going to make a change, and we tried different climates out. We're lucky enough, my husband only needs to live by a major airport. And I couldn't work at the time, so I was unemployed and all of that. And during those 4 years, it's really when I delved in to learning, okay, what is it here that's different than where I was living? How do I make changes? And then I became a certified fibromyalgia coach and really started working with clients one-on-one, helping them learn to manage their illness.
Yeah.
Okay. So then fast forward, my husband and I relocate. I really worked on my health, and I'm doing exceptionally well. So it's like I'm a whole new person. My husband always says, it's like I have a new wife. This is so awesome. What I can do in a weekend used to take me 2 months, and it's just exciting that way. And I thought, from listening to my clients, they're always saying, well, my company employer doesn't know how to work with me. How do I do this? What do I tell them? Where do I look for this? What can they do to help me? So I kind of took my HR hat, I took my fibro daily living hat and put it together. And I wrote this book so I can try to help employers understand how to work with us that are sick every day. Yeah, today we may look great. Like, yeah, you're not really sick, you're faking it. And tomorrow I may be in a flare and can't come into work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how this all came about, and really what my passion is, because I think it's a disease that is so unrecognized. Even doctors don't really understand it or believe in it.
Yeah.
It's an invisible thing, and so many chronic illnesses are invisible.
Yes.
And I think that's where we have this image or idea that if I can't see it, it's not real.
Yeah. You're so right. And so what has that looked like in the playing that out when you are talking to employers and starting to, go into companies and be like, look, this is how, like a training, what are you doing with employers to help them, learn the language, learn the signs, things like that?
Well, I think one of the first things I do is kind of look at their policies to make sure that they're kind of in line, both legally with the chronic illness community, whether that's, and chronic illness can be anything from cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, anything like that. Is it chronic illness friendly? And one thing that employers think is, I don't have anybody that has a chronic illness. Well, 6 out of 10 people have a chronic illness.
Wow.
4 out of 10 have 2 or more. So if you look at that, you really have to come back as an employer and say, okay, I probably do, but they don't want to talk to me. So one, look at the policies. Start to train your managers. Have that open door concept. Have that open-mindedness, I think, willing to listen, willing to have that empathy. Businesses are all about what's the ROI, return on investment. What am I going to get out my bang for my buck here?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of delving into all of that and really teaching them that working with chronic illness can affect their bottom line. It can reduce their medical costs. It can reduce their turnover costs. It really can affect their bottom line in a positive way.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point in general in businesses, that are so focused on the ROI, on that bottom line. And it's like, still investing in your people matters. That is going to be your biggest return on investment. And it's like, in this world where AI and, Chat GPT and all this stuff is starting to become the forefront of everything, it's like, people still matter, matter. And that is going to be your greatest return on investment.
Yeah. And I always think, at least when I was the HR person in the companies that I had worked in, I always wanted to be known as the best employer, one of the top 5 employers around to work for, because then it's easier to recruit. Right. It's easier to retain employees. And if you treat them like a human versus a number, it's amazing what it can do.
Yeah. It really is. And just when people feel seen and heard and understood, just how much that builds not only the morale of the person, but the morale of the company as well. Absolutely. So what did your eyes get open to as being someone who worked in HR for so long and was very unaware of, people that were having chronic illnesses? What were some of your big aha moments when you yourself developed a chronic illness?
It's funny because the HR world, to me, is not always black and white. It's that little gray area. But the managers you work with want that black and white. Okay.
Sure do.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure do.
So one of the things is, okay, my job is 8 to 4:30. Okay, that's my job. Okay, chronic illness, I get my best sleep from 6 to 9.
Mm,
So can I flex from 10 to 6? Is it really important I'm there at 8?
right.
In my job, what is going on from 8 to 10? Or maybe, is it important? We've learned through COVID-19 about the remote work. Can
Right.
I do a hybrid? Can I do maybe 2 days in the office, or on my bad flare day where I can't stand to be around people, I'm overwhelmed with the noise, maybe the temperatures, anything like that? Can I have that as a flex day where I'm coming in a little later, but I'm working at home on the computer all day?
Right.
So I think those are some of the things that have been the biggest aha things for me, is
Mm,
because I knew during some of my peak times when I was working, I couldn't always get there at 8 o'clock
right.
because I was just too tired. I was exhausted. I couldn't get up in the mornings.
Mm,
So, and also, for me, it's the cognitive thinking thought processes. So I know when I'm tired because I can't comprehend things. It's like my circuits aren't connecting. They're like,
sure.
dink, dink,
Yeah.
and I say the wrong words. For example, the other night, my husband and I just went on this long trip to Australia, and I'm having a hard time adjusting back to my time zone because it's 17-hour difference. And so I was pretty tired the other night. So I asked my husband, "Are you going to eat in our bed or in the guest bed?" He goes, "Eat." What do you mean eat? Don't you mean sleep? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant.
That's what I meant. Sure did.
So, I mean, it's just things like that you know, people in the workplace, if you don't understand the illness, you're thinking, gosh, what is wrong with these people?
Mm,
Did they were they out partying all night, or, are they losing their mind? They can't remember things, or they're using the wrong words, or
mm. Yeah. And
so.
I would imagine that you, as a coach, help to empower those who have the chronic illness to be able to speak in authority to their employer. If you're not able to go in and advocate for them, to empower them to have the right language to use so that they do represent themselves in the way of like, this is real. This
Yeah,
is what I need you to understand, because people don't know what they don't know. And
exactly.
people are so fearful and judgy over the things that they don't understand. And so I love that you being a coach and also, getting into the workforce and helping people have these conversations, how important it is that women especially, I'm all about helping women to use their voice, but
Mhm.
really start to speak the truth about what's going on with them, and being transparent in that, because um, cloaking it and any kind of shame. And I can imagine that when you have a chronic illness, that when you first are experiencing it, there can be that like, what's wrong with me, and this, kind of shame battle that you might struggle with. And so how has that happened for you in having these conversations with, particularly these other women?
Yeah. I always tell them that we have to be our own advocate,
Yeah.
you know, because nobody knows what's going on with us except us.
Yeah.
And if we don't communicate with others and explain things and try to give them examples of what our world is like, they're never going to understand what we're going through and have any empathy towards us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's really those open lines of communication, learning how to talk to people, maybe not divulging like my whole spewing all of my life, but because it's kind of that fine line. How much do I tell my boss? How much do I share with my coworkers? It can be a fine line depending on your boss and your company.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I work with on my clients, is kind of, okay, what is your relationship with your boss?
Yeah.
That kind of things.
Yeah. So what piece of advice would you give to the woman who perhaps is in the workforce right now and maybe hasn't been diagnosed yet with a chronic illness, but has that, like, something's not right, something's going on? Like, what would be your advice to her as her next step forward?
What I would say is listen to your body, because women, and I don't mean to be discriminatory, but most women don't put themselves first. They'll put their kids, they'll put their husband, they'll put their job, they'll put everything else first because we have to do it all. And so we don't take care of ourselves. So if you're feeling that something is wrong, listen to your body, go to the doctor, get some tests done, think about it, do some research, reach out to people. There
Yeah.
are so many resources out there that we don't take advantage of. Like, so many people don't know, like for my industry, that there are certified fibromyalgia coaches all
Mhm.
over the world.
Wow.
I know thyroid coaches. I know lupus coaches. It's just, they're there to help individuals learn about whatever they're dealing with and how to manage it and how to have joy in your life and live again.
Yeah, that's so important. That's such a good point. And Julie, this has been such an incredible conversation. It's such an important conversation that needs to be happening, and so I thank you for what you're doing. I thank you for being that voice of hope and encouragement, especially for women in the workforce. What are ways that we'll have all the links and stuff in our show notes, but what are some ways that women can connect with you?
Okay. They can email me at jhamilton@coachingpi.com. And the PI stands for positive influence, because when we have a chronic illness, we want to be negative, and we just got to have that positive energy, positive mindset to have the best day we can.
Oh, I love it. Julie, thank you so much. And if you are looking to get involved in more conversations like that, and you want to be involved with the Women Leaders Association, don't forget to check out womenleaderspodcast.com to find a chapter near you. Thanks. Bye for now.